Well, I'm so excited to be sitting here with the legendary Daymond John. I want to thank you so much. You're so busy for taking a couple minutes to talk to us.
It's my pleasure.
So I really appreciate it. So we are here at the Traffic and Conversion Summit in San Diego, and you just inspired thousands of people for about an hour.
Well, it was fun. The questions were easy. The crowd, the electricity, the energy is amazing. And Ryan and the guys, it was just like literally just sitting back and just talking with 3,000 of your closest buddies.
And you know, that's the neat thing about Ryan and Perry and Roland is they have that effect on entrepreneurs, and just so you know, you do as well. I mean, because you know, with a lot of people who speak on stage and come and visit as a keynote, it's really powerful when somebody, you know, in your position will share your story in a humble way, so that everybody in the audience can really relate to you. Because you know, your story about being, you know, from New York and in the way that you developed your business, I think is really makes a difference for people, because they understand, wow, he's actually real, and this could maybe happen for me.
You know what, I'm fortunate enough to have been around so many successful people that trait is something that has always really attracted me, and I've learned from others, way more successful than me if you look at it from purely business or a monetary standpoint. And I think that the guys share that with them, and I enjoy it actually.
Yeah, well, you can, it shows, you can tell. And it was interesting as you were talking, because now you really have become such a great mentor. And you know, I've seen the show. My son is a huge fan of yours. Watching the show, he's 10 and a half.
I love it. I love the little sharks out there.
And he is like so committed to that show, which I love, because I wasn't raised by an entrepreneur. I was raised by two entertainers and was an actor when I was a kid. So to have that kind of leadership, I mean, that you're affecting them and they're learning about business is really powerful.
Well, you know what? I would love to take the credit for that and be very honest. It was ABC and Mark Burnett who had a vision to teach entrepreneurship. If somebody would have said to me 10 years ago, you can watch a couple of men and women talk about deals on a show and it would be important and people would value it, I wouldn't believe it. But if you let Hollywood and a couple of the really amazing editors and filmers, put it together and put it out in a way where it's entertaining as well as, informative, 10 years ago, could I have ever seen people who are millionaires and billionaires in the room with the common day man and woman, and what would they want to hear? And I think that's the value. When you sit home on the couch, you go, that person's doing it, why can't I? Right. And with your son, taking nothing away from the actors and the athletes of the world and things of that nature. But I'm finding now that kids want to be sharks just as much as athletes and actors, and that we're honored to be part of that ecosystem.
I think we both realize, I mean, I did a series as a young kid, so I went in as a performer, but it's a business.
Yes.
And same thing with, as you know, any of your friends that are Hall of Famers, and what happens, they are an athlete and then they have to learn how to run a business. So what you're teaching is so powerful, because it doesn't matter if you become a professional athlete, actor, whatever. I mean, it is a business, and I think that's what's I love about, well, it's the show, but you're also doing it just in your own life, which is mentoring people and understanding, that they can learn about how to run a business.
Absolutely, and I think that, that's one of the values of the conference. Whether it's this conference or whether it's going to school for higher education, I see too many kids and people who say to me, well, a lot of entrepreneurs don't go to school or haven't gone to college, and I say, but you don't understand. The fundamentals to business is business and finance and all these things such as marketing. There's a very specific fundamental to operating and running a business, and you have to get an education in it. Right. Or when I told you the story on stage about how I didn't have financial intelligence and I risked it all, it's a very slim chance that I got to this point in my life. And if I would have had to do it all over again, that's the only thing in life that I would have changed, is get a better education, to think at conferences like this as well as a formal education.
And I wanted to ask you about that, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs here, and you meet them all the time, but especially at a conference like this, where they have a thriving business and they want to take it to the next level, or they have a dream of something they want to do and they're thinking, wow, could this really happen for me? But with what's happened in our economy since '08, there's a lot of people that have gone through tragedy, whether they had a very successful business that went from 30 million to 10 million, or they were struggling to make 50,000, they're at 25,000. Have you ever had a time where you were tempted to kind of give up on your dream? And if you did, how did you get through that?
That's a very good question. It's something I didn't address today. Often I had that challenge, and I think that one of the most important ingredients in being a successful entrepreneur is having a mentor that really has no interest in your business and has been there. And that has proven to be way more successful, in regards to if you put 10 businesses in a room and the ones that are more successful, you generally find that there was some form of a mentor around or a mind trust. People who have the same agenda as you do. And, when I started my company, I have 3 other partners. And when I wanted to quit, they wouldn't let me quit, and vice versa. And, we ended up really 10 years felt like 2 years when I created it. And I opened in 1989, and I failed and ran out of money and closed FUBU down 3 times until 1992. And I didn't really get out on a national stage till 1997.
I thank you so much for saying that, because I think so many people, not only at this conference, but all over the world need to hear that.
Yeah.
And because it was you being persistent and not giving up on that dream that you had.
Absolutely. And before that, I had 3 or 4 other businesses. I just didn't love the businesses. It was like I had a little van service and this and that. I didn't love the business, but this business kept calling me back, as I said on stage, because I kept seeing people wear the product, and I would do anything to see somebody adorn their body in something that I made, because it just made them feel special. And I kept opening the business. But I made my mistakes small, so I was able to close down for 6 months and open back up.
But that's so powerful too, because a lot of people end up maybe spending their life doing something they're not that passionate about, even in businesses.
Sure.
So I think that's such a great lesson. I love that you share that one of that lesson, that gold, wonderful rule of do what you love and the money will flow.
Yeah.
And you find that is really, really true in the people that that are successful.
It is, and I just have to find a better way of saying it, because I sound like my grandfather now when people kind of let these really important sayings just wash by. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Do what you love, you never work a day in your life, and all. And it's all crap as far as they're concerned.
But you got to work,
not,
obviously.
Yeah, absolutely work, but you will love doing it, because the reality is our report card is not going to come back A all the time. But if you were doing a business that you loved and you were obsessed with, and 10 years from now it didn't work, at least you had fun.
Right.
If you were doing something for money in a business that you hated, but you were just like, that's the newest, hottest thing, your life is gone. That 10 years you can never get back, work or play.
Right. When you were a little child, did you always have this drive in this way? Did you have a specific mentor that inspired you, somebody who believed in you, or was it just something that was inside of you?
I always had this drive, but again, my mentor was, and I talk about her all the time, my first mentor was my mother. Because a lot of people ask, are you born an entrepreneur, or is it something you learn? And I believe we're all born thinking like entrepreneurs, but I believe that some of us, if we don't have the right people around us, when we tell somebody that we're going to change the world, or we're going to save the seals, or whatever it is, and if we have a negative person around us, could be a family member, they may say, it hasn't been done yet, it can never happen, you're going to embarrass yourself, you're going to embarrass us, and you tend to stop thinking like an entrepreneur because you're influenced by somebody. But my mother was the exact opposite. Yes, you absolutely can do that. Why don't we start today, So, I just happen to have a great surrounding and amazing people around me.
And I think that's great. It's unfortunate that, and I had that as well. I mean, my parents were not wealthy, but they loved what they did, and they always made money doing what they loved.
Right.
So they always felt successful, even though by somebody else's standard, maybe they weren't wealthy. But there's a lot of people that are here and everywhere that don't have that cheerleader and have not had that cheerleader in their life. What do you suggest to people? Because I think the mental game, from what I've learned from entrepreneurs, because I had to, after doing my series, I had to learn how to be a business person in that aspect of it. But the mental game is also so much a part of the success and the staying power in business.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with that?
100%.
So what do you recommend that an entrepreneur does to keep their
Go
head?
find those people.
Okay.
You have to go find those people, and you have to cut those negative people out of your life.
Right.
Listen, We see people all the time who have groups and cults and packs around them. They're doing everything from the most amazing things in the world to the worst things in the world. There's somebody out there that relates or on your level and believes in what you want to do, but you got to go find that person, and you absolutely take those other negative people out of your life or limit them as much as you can.
And if that's your family members, I mean, that can obviously be a challenge, but at the same time, it's so great to hear you say that, because almost every successful person that I've sat down, talked to like yourself, who's had that long-term staying power, feels so strongly about those influences that are around them in their core, in the
100%.
core.
Your assets are what feeds you, and your liabilities are what eats you. And before you go and look at anything from your financial assets and liabilities or your inventory, you have to look at your assets and liabilities as being the people around you and your way of thinking. And and maybe I'm just a cold person, but I was an only child. I didn't have any siblings, so I hired my entire neighborhood because I always wanted a brother and sister. But on the other hand, I will cut people off in a heartbeat if they are bringing drama. They have negative energy. They're bringing it around. Like I try to get away from Kevin O'Leary all the time, but he just sits right next to me.
He's right next to me.
But I try all the time, but I will eventually get away from him.
Can't you have Mr. Burnett move you down the road?
I've tried. I've tried. But Kevin just keeps popping up. He's one of those things.
Well, maybe we can look at it as that you've been placed into his life to try to help him recover from maybe some of the negativity. You're gonna be a positive influence on him.
I'm gonna bring holy water to the set next time and pour it on him and watch him melt in the seat.
Can't wait to see it happen. We'll be looking for news at 10 on that. The other thing I wanted to ask you is that, when people start a business, a lot of times they just have a dream and a vision, but they don't really have a business plan. What do you suggest that an entrepreneur does that really has a great idea? They have all the passion behind it. Maybe they have even the funding, but as far as getting a business plan together, and how important is that?
That's a very tricky question in regards to at what point do you do that? If somebody has a great idea, I usually say, well, before the business plan, put in goals on how many hours you're going to put in on this business a week. 1, 2, 7, 9, whatever it is, and then you go and look at how that compounds over 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and once you get to the point where you are absolutely obsessed with this thing, but you have seen the growth, then when the financials really need to come into play, you have to create a business plan. But first of all, we're in society, we're always taught, go out and get a partner, use other people's money, create your business plan on how you would accomplish this, whether you get a partner or not, because you can't count on other money. You can only count on yourself. And if you love it so much, then when I worked at Red Lobster, I came in, I sank all my money that I could outside of having to pay my bills back into the business, and hours and time, and get a group of people around me. So before you have a business plan, have a goal in mind with a time limit, expiration date, and then you go and look at those results, and then move towards business plans.
Right.
Business plans are essential though, no matter what. And they say that 75% of people never look at the business plan after it was done, but for the most part, the ones who wrote business plans against the ones who haven't have been 3 times more successful, because mentally they set a goal on what they thought they were going to do and the way they were going to go about it.
Right, that's very interesting, and I've heard that's where many people really fail because they just don't implement that.
Yeah, they go by just the tail of their
which
their
you
seat.
explained a little bit earlier about what happened to you in the beginning. And so, for people who are going to maybe JV with somebody or do some kind of a strategic partnership, I think we talked a lot about this on stage. So you've got a new entrepreneur and they've got a great idea, but of course, in a way, it makes so much sense to partner with somebody like yourself,
right,
or Roland, Ryan, or Perry, or whoever. How do you recommend that is it better for them to give up a large equity stake to launch? I mean, we watch this all the time on your show as well,
right.
And this is what Roland, Ryan, and Perry do. But if you could just say, off the record, I mean, for that new person, I mean, to me, it makes much more sense to partner up with somebody who's been successful, even if you're going to give up a larger equity stake. But what's your feeling about that?
Well, here's my feeling about it. First of all, I don't want to sugarcoat it and make it seem like finding a Roland, a Perry, a Ryan, a Daymond John is easy. That's not easy, because number one is, why would we partner up with you and own 80, 40, 60% something when we have ideas ourselves. So we can own 100% of it. So before you even are fortunate enough to find somebody to partner up with, you have to prove the viability and the market. And that person you're coming to needs to say, what can I bring to increase this and make scalability? So number one, first of all, you have to prove it yourself. Second of all, you have to see that the partner you want to work with is on the same page as you. You know, I may want to do this deal because it looks good in my portfolio, and let's say I didn't have the best morals in the world. I want people to come into my shop to look at your product and really buy mine. And what am I going to, even though I'm a strategic partner and it's hard to find me, what am I going to give to you to help you? Because if you just think I'm going to take the whole thing and I'm going to solve all your problems, it may not be the case. So, you know, you kind of got to interview the person on the other side of the table. And then you have to realize, what are you willing to give up? The more work you do, the less money costs. If you have an idea and you just got out to the market a little bit, I want 80% of it. If you have an idea and you can't fill the orders enough, I want 25% of it for the same money, because you've already proven that. So you just have to really think, what value are you bringing to the person?
Okay, thank you. And I think that's helpful to people, because I think they hear, now they're watching your show and they're thinking, oh, this is now what I need to do. I need to go and either find a shark or find somebody else to partner with, because that's going to make my business. But I watch you guys, you know, sometimes you send somebody off on their way because they're not at that place and it's not the appropriate time.
I don't want you to use my money to learn.
Yes.
I want you to say, and especially on the show, when people come up on the show and they make it seem like they had no problems ever and this is the easiest thing in the world, any real business owner knows that is not the case. So why are you lying right now? Come up on the show and go, or in person, and say, here's what I did. I got my butt handed back to me on this, but then I figured out what I needed to do. I wouldn't take no for an answer. I got this type of partner over here to help me in the areas I didn't know, and now I'm starting to move in the right direction, and that's it. And then, you know, we can resonate with that.
I think that's such a great lesson for even somebody meeting, obviously not on the air, when they have a meeting with somebody. Just, you're saying, just be honest about where you are, because it's going to be a much...
I'm going to find out sooner or later.
Exactly.
And as you see on the show, we dissect these people, and there are things that people just say that are telltales. That if somebody comes on the show or in person and says, I'm doing $50 million of business and I have, I have 6 employees. Either you're selling cocaine or there's something wrong here. It's not that we speak in code, but every businessman and woman, there is just the fundamentals to business that you just know what it is. Right,
that's so great. So if you don't mind, I just, as, in your personal life, I mean, now you're successful. I mean, obviously, really, in so many ways, people look at you and they think his life is perfect. Right. But on a personal level, I wanted to ask you, because a lot of times, spiritually, what is the thing that drives you now? Because, when finances are not an issue, and, I see this so much, and people are successful. They get there and they reach there, and then the money is not an issue, but then it's a whole nother level of what's important to me in my life. Can you share where your priorities lie as a result of that?
Sure. So, I never really expected to be somebody in the spotlight. And now that I'm in the spotlight and I'm in a totally new business, it's called entertainment, I still am absolutely obsessed with what I do on a daily basis. But now, with this entertainment aspect of my life, we thought Shark Tank would last 1 season, 2 seasons, and Shark Tank is different than becoming an actor. We shoot and do these deals, then we have to report out, then we have to promote, and then we have to actually physically do these deals. Right. And that means 6, 7, 8, 10 new partners a year. That means people who need your attention, and the contracts that need to be negotiated, advertising, marketing, all this type of stuff. And I don't know how to do anything halfway. So what happens is my normal 6 hours of sleep have now become 2.5, 3 hours of sleep. Where does that start to suffer? My health, because I'm on the road often, and I do speaking engagement and things of that nature for new strategic partners. Last year I spoke at maybe Rubbermaid, or I spoke at General Mills, and that's to bring more deal flow to the deals that I have, to put them through the right process. Right. What suffers there? Time with your family, obviously your health, and that becomes a fine line and a balance. And that's what I think that I have the challenge dealing with. But on the flip side, why do I do it? We're making, Mark Cuban, who doesn't need any, Mark Cuban can buy all of the sharks collectively 10 times over. That's how liquid he is. Wow. He doesn't need to do the show. Right. But we know that we're a part of something much bigger. We know that there are people at home watching the show, and they are, and it's the #1 show watched between kids 5 to 15 years old on network.
Which is so powerful, and it's so exciting as opposed to all the other stuff on television that your kids could watch, right?
Absolutely. So, and we know that we're part of this. We know that, first of all, we have an obligation to these partners that we committed ourselves to on the show, that not only did we invest in them, but they allowed us to invest in their dream, right? So we have to do something and make sure that we give these people the best shot. #2, we have to make sure that we make sure America knows that you don't have to have anything more than morals, discipline, and be willing to educate yourself and bust your butt, and you can empower yourself. Because we always call that carpet the ultimate equalizer. Right. Religion, sex, doesn't matter. That carpet is the ultimate equalizer as an entrepreneur. And my job is to not leave my daughters an inherency, it's to leave them a legacy. And that's where I'm at today. It may change tomorrow. I highly doubt it. Most likely I'm going to be doing something where I'm trying to save animals and things of that nature and fresh water on our planet. But today, maybe for the next 5 to 10 years, it's handling and dealing with these entrepreneurs and making sure they have the best shot they can.
But in the truth and the legacy, that's such a great example, I think, to set for your children. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think a lot of times people see you, but they don't know who is Daymond John. Who are you behind the businessman? No,
they don't know, because even on the stage, it's lighthearted and you're joking, but you have to remember the Shark Tank is cut as business theater, and they cut everybody as a very specific role. Kevin obviously is the mean guy, and Robert's the joyful one, and we all have our positions, so they only see these individuals who, I joke about Kevin and the guys a lot, really, truly, big-hearted, amazing people. Kevin is a marshmallow. He's amazing. And they don't see the human side, and they think we just wake up, walking on clouds with a tuxedo on, right? And it's just not like that. It's work. It's everyday work.
Hair, makeup, wardrobe.
No, it's work. It's everyday work.
And for people, if you want to share anything, what would you like people to know about you that they don't? That generally the public doesn't know about you.
A lot of people just think I'm this guy who wears, suits all the time. I'm generally in sportswear. That's my background. They think I'm this fine, I go to fine dining places. No, give me a good Golden Corral after I'm snowboarding, and then maybe I'll go home and watch some UFC, or I live kind of in the country. I'm a country kid. I grew up in the city, so the last thing I want to see is another dirty pigeon, right?
I'm from New York as well, so I totally get that.
Exactly. So I think those are the things, and I'm a family guy, and almost, most of my staff I've known. Well, I'm not gonna say most of them, because a lot of them have moved on and better careers, but I at least have 20 people up there I've known for over 25 years, and I'm only 46. So it means that I try to keep a lot of good people around me.
That's great. What do you like to do for fun?
Snowboard, fish, anything to do with water. Yeah. Fish, snowboard, spear fishing, whatever the case is.
We've got a lot of water out here that you can...
You see me keep looking over. You saw me, I was taking pictures of everything.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, and I know your time is valuable. Just to finish up, because you've had a chance, and a lot of people who are here at this event, they really look at Ryan and Perry and Roland, and they're so mesmerized by their brilliance, and and obviously you have that as well. So you've had a chance to get to know Roland, Ryan, and Perry a little bit personally, and done some work with them. So could you just kind of give your impression of them, not only as business owners, but as people?
Well, as people, they're like Three Stooges, but brilliant. And when people see them on the stage and they see 3,000 people cheering this and that, people looking at them like it's easy, and it's not. They work meticulously. They are also looking for the next thing. Men and women in our space never stop. But there's that balance of, how do I grow this business and look at the new thing, but am I maximizing what I currently have? So they're always second guessing themselves, because in today, the way times are moving with social media and technology, things are constantly evolving, and they can easily, and they probably have that healthy paranoia like most of us have that are at a certain level, that you could be a dinosaur and your job is to go out there and to find the new things. And second of all, you have all these people depending that you're giving them the valuable information they need. So, you know, they're at the top of their game, but they are not taking it for granted.
Right.
And they're really good people, really amazing. You know, one of the easiest and most fruitful deals I have done has been working with them. They have made my life so much easier. So I do respect them, and but they're an interesting bunch.
And that's absolutely true, to say the least. And I agree with you. They're not complacent on any level, and I've had a chance to work with them for quite a while, and they are so committed to excellence and making sure that they over-deliver,
Yes.
which I think is unusual a lot of times in this kind of an industry.
It
and
is.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for that, as I don't think you'd be doing business with them if you didn't feel the same way.
Absolutely. They every single day they prove themselves more and more valuable to me in regards to what they do.
And they do make things fun.
They are very fun.
So just to finish up, I mean, if you have any lasting thought of something I haven't asked you, just about a message you could give to, you know, the entrepreneurs, whether they're 10 years old or 65 or 70 years old or 80, what would that be?
No, you know what? We've covered it all. But to sum it up, really, you know, find those people or that person who can mentor you, or that circle of people that you can trust, and they have the same exact agenda that you have. Go out there and really make those little mistakes small. Don't go and look for investments and huge partners before you really feel secure in what you're doing. Absolutely be obsessed and love what you do. And then, you know, set some goals and, you know, put some timelines on what you're going to do, and go back and look at it and go, you know, did I accomplish what I wanted to do, or is this worth it? Because sometimes you may have to look back and go, it's not worth it. It's just the quality of life that I'm losing is not worth it, or I find that I'm just not excited about it. And because you change, you know, your interests change. And if you add a couple of those things together, you know, you have the best shot at what you're doing.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on, and I just thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're
Thank
really.
you.
I want you to go have some fun.
I will. Trust me. I
thank
always
you
sneak in fun.
for giving to us, and now go enjoy your evening.
Well,
I
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for
thank
having
you.
me. Thank
Thanks,
you.
team, so much.